Hello, everybody, and thank you for inviting. Can you hear me and see the slides?
Yeah, we can.
All right, exciting. So, Scott, it's like we kind of planned what's going on because I'm gonna take exactly where you stopped. I'm gonna take it from there and speak about the some of the topics that you touched. So, as Les said, I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Cyborgnest. And as we always say, our mission is pretty simple: to enhance people with new senses. And people ask us, but why do you do that? And we always try to explain the simplest way that everything that we ever thought, created, or felt started from a sensory input. Because if I go now and we're going to do it together, a 10-second thought experiment where we take away all your senses, you suddenly realize how your senses are important. Because if you cannot see, and you suddenly cannot hear, and you cannot smell, and you cannot taste or touch, suddenly all this perception of reality, what we call, disappears, and there is no more reality. We are left with everything that was there and got there through our senses before our experiment, but there is nothing incoming. And as Scott says, for us as well, this is probably the hardest part when we speak to people, because throughout our childhood we are explained how everything that has to do with the brain is the most important part in our body, and it is the most sophisticated part. But let's make it clear, without our senses, our brain will be like the most sophisticated computer in the world, put in a corner in a box, not connected to anything. So now, as a fact, every creation and industry that exists out there are based on one or more of our senses. So everything, you guys can start looking around you and wherever you are, every little single object, thing that you wear, thing that you eat, food culture, everything has to do with our senses. And the idea is very simple, but as Scott says, it takes time for people to digest that. If we will have more senses, we can start thinking, creating, and feeling from places that we never did before. So that's what we try to do at Cyborg Nest. And to start, if you, I don't know who of you have kids or remember when they were children, but our journey in life starts with sensory experiences. Where if you had a newborn, a little child, you see how they cover their eyes, they touch everything, they put in their mouth everything, because that's how we learn the world, and that's how we experience everything that we experience coming through our senses. Now, when we are at the age of the kid that we see in this picture, we are aware of that, and we are interested in learning these things and doing new stuff. But somehow, as we grow older, this interest or that curiosity kind of disappears, and we focus on what is, and we take it as something that is okay, it's just here for granted. That's it, that's the world. But actually, there is so much more around us that we can't sense. Now, what happens when you are taking a grown up and not a kid, and you are trying to turn them into that, to know, superhero, superhuman, enhanced human, someone that has abilities that people do not have? So now I'm 40 years old, and other people here are different ages, but I believe none of us is a year old. And you get either the Centero from us or the buzz from Scott, and you're basically asked to go through the same journey that a toddler will go through, where you have a sense that's giving you inputs that you are like, what is that? What am I supposed to do with it? And as Scott said, it is really important to be with these things as much as possible. And as Les mentioned, I call these things plug and be, because it's not a plug and play. And maybe, Scott, that is the biggest problem, because since the 90s, and I remember because I was a teenager in the 90s, this whole notion of plug and play came out. And it was even written on every box of every device that you buy if it's a plug and play or not. And if it wasn't, so then drop that shit. I don't want it. right? Because I'm not getting the instant satisfaction that I want. And with new senses, you're not going to get that instant satisfaction, or at least you're not going to be aware that you're getting this instant satisfaction from the first moment. And to explain the difference, why I can't put a sense on me and enjoy it or feel enhanced in a second, is because that is not a tool. And to explain it through what we do, we create for now, our first two products are senses that have to do with orientation. And one of the obvious questions that people ask us is, but bro, I have a compass on my phone. Why wouldn't I use that? And the reason is very simple, because a compass is on a cognitive level. You need to make a whole loop of decisions and actions to use it, such as I need to use a compass, I need to put the hand in my pocket, take out the phone, find the app, turn it on, look where north is, use it, job done, I'm putting it back in the pocket. But think about it, you never do that with your eyes, I hope, right? You're not taking your eyes off when this conversation is going to be over, and you're not taking your ears off when you finish listening to a song. And that is where the magic lies, that the fact that they are always on and they are always there. So you suddenly, things start to happen. So in our case, for example, with the sense of orientation, you suddenly start realizing that you have new memories. Because what is a memory? A memory is a flash of sensory inputs, is what I saw, tasted, smelled, touched, and I don't know which one I missed, but in a second. And now you have another layer of input, which is which direction I was facing on the planet in that moment. And those things start to connect to emotions. And suddenly you have all these maps. And yesterday I was actually having a conversation with someone that had the North Sense. And we found ourselves speaking about orientation of tables in our office and in the house and how things are correlated. And suddenly I was like, Riley, we are part of the only 250 people in the world that can actually have this conversation, because we have the ability to think about stuff in a way that nobody else has, because they never had this sense. So having it on all the time, that is the magic, and that's how things work. And guys, the opportunity is huge. I mean, we are so excited to go and see, and from a good reason, to see what's happening on the moon and on Mars and on Jupiter and all that. But there is a whole world just around us, in the proximity of zero from you, just like covering you, a whole world that we are not aware of. And I couldn't be more excited than starting sensing some of that world and being part of that world, because suddenly it's not about just understanding stuff that we don't know, that we see or sense with the senses that we already have. It's starting to understand the world that we were never part of. And what could be more exciting than that? Thank you very much.